There comes a moment in life when you realize that nothing outside of you has ever truly been in control. Not your past, not your circumstances, not the people around you. Everything you see, everything you experience has been shaped by one silent force, your identity. And today, you are about to discover something that can completely transform your reality. That you are not stuck. You are not limited. You are not defined by what has been. You are only defined by who you believe yourself to be right now. If you can change that, if you can shift the very concept you hold of yourself, then everything must change. Not slowly, not someday, but inevitably. So listen carefully, because this may be the moment your life begins to turn in a completely new direction. There is a subtle but powerful misunderstanding that keeps most people stuck in cycles of desire without fulfillment. It is the belief that life responds to what you want. You may have been taught to visualize your goals, to repeat what you desire, to focus on outcomes, but still something feels out of reach. That's because desire alone has no creative power unless it is matched by identity. Life does not respond to your wishes, it responds to your inner conviction of self. In other words, you don't attract what you want. You reflect who you believe you are. Take a moment to observe your current reality. Not what you hope for, not what you dream about, but what consistently shows up in your life. The patterns, the results, the experiences. These are not random, they are reflections. They are the outer expression of an inner identity that has been accepted, often unconsciously, as truth. If you see limitation, it is because somewhere within limitation has been accepted. If you experience lack, rejection, or delay, it is not because life is against you. It is because these states have become part of your self-concept. This is not about blame. It is about awareness. Because once you see that your identity is the source, you also realize that it is the key to change. Wanting something creates tension. Being something creates alignment. When you say, I want success, you are silently affirming that you are not yet successful. When you say, I want to be loved, you are reinforcing the identity of someone who is not already loved. Desire, in this way, can unintentionally keep you in the state of not having. But when you shift from wanting to being, from seeking to embodying, everything changes. Imagine a person who fully believes they are confident. They don't chase confidence. They don't try to prove it. They simply act, speak, and move from that identity. Their decisions reflect it. Their energy expresses it. And the world responds accordingly. Opportunities come. People treat them differently. Not because they tried harder, but because they are different within. This is the principle at work. The outer world mirrors the inner identity. If you continue to identify as someone who struggles, then even your best efforts will feel heavy. You may achieve small results, but they won't last because they are not supported by a stable self-concept. Eventually, life will return to what feels normal to you internally. This is why lasting change never comes from action alone. It comes from identity transformation. So the shift you must make is this: stop focusing on what you want to attract and start focusing on who you are being. Ask yourself honestly, what do I believe about myself? Not what you say out loud, but what you feel to be true when no one is watching. Do you see yourself as capable, worthy, chosen? Or do you quietly expect disappointment, delay, or struggle? Your answers reveal the blueprint of your life. Now here is where your power begins. You are not fixed. Your identity is not permanent. It is a collection of assumptions that can be changed deliberately, consciously, and persistently. You can decide right now to adopt a new concept of self, not by force, but by feeling, not by pretending, but by accepting. If you choose to see yourself as successful, then begin to think from success. make decisions from success, feel the naturalness of already being that person. At first, it may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But that discomfort is only the old identity resisting change. Persist. Because the more you occupy this new identity, the more natural it becomes. And as it becomes natural, it becomes your truth. And once it is your truth, life has no choice but to reflect it. This is why some people seem to attract everything effortlessly. It's not luck, it's not chance, it's alignment. They are not chasing, they are expressing who they already believe themselves to be. So stop chasing. Stop trying to pull things toward you. Instead, become the version of yourself to whom these things belong. Because when you change who you believe you are, you don't need to attract anything. It comes to you because it was always a reflection of you. Most people spend their lives trying to fix effects without ever questioning the cause. They attempt to change their circumstances, improve their conditions, and control outcomes, all while leaving the one thing untouched that creates it all: their identity. This is why change often feels temporary, fragile, or exhausting. Because no matter how much effort is applied on the outside, the inner cause remains the same. And as long as the cause remains unchanged, the effect must eventually return to its original form. Your identity is the cause. Your reality is the effect. Everything you experience in the external world is a direct projection of the internal assumptions you hold about yourself. Not occasionally, not sometimes, but consistently and precisely. Life is not happening to you, it is happening from you. It is shaped by the lens through which you see yourself, the silent beliefs you carry, and the roles you have accepted as true. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, life will continuously provide situations that validate that identity. If you believe you are overlooked, opportunities will seem scarce or pass you by. If deep within you feel unworthy, even when good things arrive, they may not stay because they do not match your internal concept of self. This is not coincidence. This is law. And yet, most people try to change the effect. They try to earn more without changing their belief about money. They try to find love without changing how they see themselves. They try to gain confidence without addressing the identity that feels inadequate. So they push harder, they try more, they wait longer. But nothing truly shifts because they are working against the cause instead of transforming it. Imagine looking into a mirror and trying to change your reflection without moving your own body. It would be impossible. The reflection can only change when you do. In the same way, your world can only change when your identity shifts. The outer world is simply mirroring what is already established within. This realization changes everything because it means you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are not bound by past experiences. You are not dependent on external validation. You are the source. And if you are the source, then you have the ability to redefine it. But this requires honesty. It requires you to look within and ask, what identity am I currently living from? Not what you wish to be, but what you consistently feel yourself to be. Do you identify as someone powerful or powerless? Secure or uncertain? Chosen or overlooked? Your answers explain your reality. Now understand this. Changing your identity is not about repeating empty words or forcing positive thoughts. It is about shifting your inner conviction, your sense of self, until it feels natural, real, and unquestioned. You do this by assuming a new identity internally before it appears externally. If you desire success, you must stop seeing yourself as someone trying to become successful and instead begin to feel like someone who already is. That means thinking from success, making decisions from success, and carrying yourself with the quiet certainty of success, even if the outer world has not yet caught up. At first, this may feel like you are going against reality, but in truth you are redefining it, because reality is not fixed. It is fluid. It responds to your inner state. And the moment your inner state changes, the outer world begins to rearrange itself to reflect that new cause. This is why persistence is essential. You are not just changing thoughts, you are transforming identity. And identity is built through repetition, through consistency, through returning again and again to the version of yourself you have chosen to become. Gradually, something shifts. What once felt unnatural begins to feel normal. What once required effort becomes automatic. What once seemed impossible begins to appear. And when that happens, you will realize something profound. The effect was never the problem. It was only the messenger. The true power was always in the cause. So stop chasing outcomes. Stop trying to manipulate circumstances. Go within and change the source. Because when the cause changes, the effect has no choice but to follow. There is a difference between hoping for a new life and embodying it. Most people remain trapped in hope. They imagine, they wish, they wait, but they never cross the invisible line where desire becomes identity. And that line is crossed through one powerful shift, assuming the feeling of already being the person you desire to become. This is where transformation truly begins. Not in action, not in effort, but in feeling. Your outer world does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to the emotional state you consistently live in. Feeling is the language through which your inner identity expresses itself. It is deeper than words, more powerful than logic, and far more influential than temporary thoughts. You may repeat affirmations all day, but if your underlying feeling contradicts them, life will always respond to the feeling. So the question becomes, what does it feel like to already be the person you want to be? Not someday, not after something happens, but now, if it were already true. If you were already successful, would you feel anxious about your future? If you were already loved, would you feel the need to seek validation? If you were already abundant, would you worry about lack? Of course not. You would feel a quiet certainty, a natural ease, a sense of completeness that does not depend on external proof. And this is the state you must begin to occupy before anything changes outside of you. This may seem counterintuitive at first. The mind is conditioned to believe that feeling comes after results, that you must see it to believe it. But in truth, it works the other way around. You must feel it to see it. The feeling is the cause. The outer experience is the effect. So instead of waiting for circumstances to give you permission to feel fulfilled, you give yourself permission first. You step into the emotional reality of your desired identity as if it were already yours. This is not imagination for the sake of escape. This is imagination used deliberately to reshape your inner world. Close your eyes and ask yourself, if my life were exactly as I desire, how would I feel right now? Let that feeling rise within you. Not forced, not exaggerated, but real and steady. It may be subtle, it may be calm, but it carries a sense of it is done. That feeling is the doorway. Return to it again and again, not as a temporary exercise, but as a state you choose to live from. When doubts appear, do not fight them. Simply return to the feeling. When the outer world shows you the opposite, do not react. Remain anchored in the inner experience. This is where persistence becomes power. Because at first, the feeling may not stay. It may fade as old patterns return. But each time you come back to it, you strengthen it. Each time you choose it over your current circumstances, you make it more natural. And eventually, it becomes your default state. When that happens, something remarkable occurs. You no longer feel like you are trying to become someone. You feel like you already are. Your thoughts begin to align with that identity. Your reactions shift. Your decisions reflect a new level of certainty. And without effort, your behavior changes. From the outside, it may look like you have become more confident, more aligned, more focused. But the truth is, you simply accepted a new feeling and lived from it long enough for it to become real. And once it becomes real within you, the outer world begins to mirror it. Opportunities arise that match your new state. People respond differently to you. Situations unfold in ways that feel almost effortless. Not because you forced them, but because you changed the emotional blueprint from which your life is created. So stop waiting for something to happen so you can feel better. Feel it now. Feel the version of yourself who already has what you desire. Let that feeling guide your thoughts, your actions, and your perception of the world. Because when you assume the feeling of already being, you are no longer becoming, you are being. And life will always reflect who you are being. One of the greatest obstacles to transformation is the tendency to treat current circumstances as absolute truth. You look at your life, your bank account, your relationships, your environment, and you assume that what you see now defines what is possible. But this is the illusion that keeps you trapped, because what you are seeing in this moment is not a fixed reality, it is an echo. An echo of what? An echo of past assumptions. Everything that exists in your outer world today was once an inner state you accepted, consciously or unconsciously. Every belief, every identity, every repeated thought and feeling has impressed itself upon your inner world. And over time, it has taken form as your external reality. So what you are witnessing now is not the present creation. It is the delayed expression of what has already been assumed. This is why reacting to current circumstances is so limiting. When you react, you are reinforcing the very state that created them. You see lack, you feel lack. You experience rejection, you internalize rejection. You encounter delay, and you begin to expect delay. In doing so, you unknowingly continue the same cycle, recreating the same patterns over and over again. But the moment you understand that your current reality is only an echo, you stop giving it authority. You begin to see it differently. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you realize, "This is what I have previously accepted as true, and now I have the power to accept something new." This shift is everything, because it frees you from the need to fight, fix, or force the outer world. It allows you to withdraw your attention from appearances and redirect it toward your inner state, the only place where real change occurs. Think of your reality like a shadow. You cannot grab a shadow, reshape it, or push it into a new form, but you can change the object casting it. In the same way, you cannot directly control circumstances by manipulating them, but you can change the inner assumptions that project them, and the shadow must follow. This is why ignoring current circumstances does not mean denying reality. It means understanding its nature. You are not pretending that things don't exist. You are recognizing that they are not final. They are not permanent. They are not the source. They are simply reflections, temporary expressions of past states that are already fading. So instead of reacting emotionally to what you see, you choose to remain loyal to what you have decided to become. If your current situation shows lack, but you have chosen abundance, then you do not let the appearance of lack define your state. You acknowledge it, but you do not identify with it. You remain internally aligned with abundance, thinking from it, feeling from it, expecting from it. This is where true discipline is required, because the outer world can be convincing. It can present itself as solid, unchangeable, even overwhelming at times. But if you give it your full attention, if you allow it to dictate your inner state, then you are surrendering your creative power. Instead, you must learn to stand firm within yourself, to hold your new identity even when there is no evidence, to remain faithful to your inner assumption even when the outer world shows the opposite. This is not passive. This is not weak. This is one of the most powerful acts you can perform, because in that moment you are no longer reacting to reality. You are creating it. You are choosing your inner state deliberately, independent of circumstances. And when you do that consistently, something begins to shift. The old patterns lose their grip. The emotional reactions weaken. The need to seek validation from the outside disappears. And gradually, the outer world begins to change, not because you forced it, but because it is catching up with your new state of being. At first, the changes may be subtle. Small shifts, unexpected opportunities, slight differences in how people respond to you. But these are signs, not that something is starting, but that something has already changed within you. And as you continue to persist, those small shifts become larger transformations. Situations that once felt fixed begin to dissolve. Doors that seemed closed begin to open. Circumstances that once defined you no longer have the same power. And eventually, you reach a point where your outer world fully reflects your inner decision. But it all begins with this understanding: what you see now is not the truth of who you are. It is only the residue of who you used to believe you were. So let it pass. Do not fight it. Do not fear it. Do not identify with it. Instead, return to your chosen identity. Hold it, feel it, live from it. Because when you stop reacting to the echo and start embodying the new cause, the echo must change. It has no other choice. There is a moment in every inner transformation where enthusiasm fades and reality seems unchanged. At the beginning, it feels powerful. You choose a new identity. You feel the shift. You imagine a different life. But then, the outer world appears the same. Old patterns try to return. Doubt begins to whisper. And this is where most people stop. Not because the principle failed, but because they failed to persist. Persistence is the bridge between choosing a new identity and becoming it. It is not enough to feel it once. It is not enough to believe it for a day. Your current reality was not created in a single moment. It was formed through repeated identification, through consistent thoughts and feelings that became familiar over time. In the same way, your new identity must be stabilized through persistence. It must be returned to again and again until it feels more natural than the old one. This is where real transformation happens, not in intensity, but in consistency. At first, your new identity may feel fragile. You may step into it during quiet moments, only to lose it when faced with daily challenges. You may feel confident one hour and uncertain the next. This is normal. It does not mean you are failing. It means you are transitioning. The old identity is still active, still trying to pull you back into what feels familiar. But familiarity is not truth. It is just repetition. So instead of giving in to old reactions, you gently return to your chosen self. Again and again, without frustration, without force. You simply remind yourself, this is who I am now. When circumstances try to contradict you, you do not argue with them. You outgrow them. You remain internally aligned with your new identity, even if the outer world has not yet adjusted. This quiet persistence is what begins to dissolve the old patterns. Think of it like carving a new path through a forest. The first time it is difficult. The ground is uneven, the direction is unclear. But the more you walk that path, the clearer it becomes. Eventually, it becomes the natural route, the one you take without thinking. Your identity works the same way. Every time you return to your new self, you strengthen it. Every time you choose your new feeling over your old reaction, you reinforce it. Every time you think from your desired identity instead of toward it, you embody it more deeply. And slowly, something shifts. The new identity begins to feel normal. The old one begins to feel distant, unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. You no longer have to remind yourself as often, because your thoughts, emotions, and reactions are starting to align automatically. This is the turning point. Because once your new identity becomes natural, your outer world has no choice but to reflect it. You don't need to force change. You don't need to chase results. Your life begins to reorganize itself around who you have become. The things that match your identity start to appear effortlessly. The things that don't match begin to fade away. You may notice that opportunities arise without struggle, that people respond to you differently, that situations resolve in ways you didn't plan. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. Your inner world has shifted, and now your outer world is catching up. But this only happens through persistence, not occasional belief, not temporary motivation, but a steady, unwavering commitment to being the person you have chosen to be, even when it's quiet, even when nothing seems to be happening, even when doubt tries to return. Because in those moments, persistence is not just repetition, it is faith in your unseen reality. And understand this clearly: the delay is not denial. The time between inner change and outer reflection is simply the space where your new identity is stabilizing. It is where your belief is being tested, not by external forces, but by your own willingness to remain consistent. So do not give up in that space. Do not go back to the old identity just because it feels familiar. Stay with the new version of yourself long enough for it to take root. Because once it does, everything changes. Not just one area of your life, but all of it. Your decisions change. Your habits change. Your expectations change. And as a result, your entire reality shifts. This is why persistence is so powerful. It is not about forcing outcomes. It is about becoming someone for whom those outcomes are inevitable. So remain faithful to your new identity. Return to it daily. Live from it consistently. Let it guide your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. And trust that with enough persistence, your life will reshape itself to match who you have decided to be. Because it always does. So now you see, there is nothing to chase, nothing to force, nothing to wait for. Everything begins and ends with who you decide you are. The moment you accept a new identity fully, deeply, and without hesitation, your world begins to reflect it with absolute precision. It cannot do otherwise. So the real question is no longer, what do I want in life? The real question is, who am I willing to become in order to have it? Because the answer to that question is the answer to your entire life. Choose wisely, assume boldly, and persist until it feels so natural that you forget you were ever anyone else. And when that happens, your reality will no longer be something you hope for. It will be something you embody. Thank you for being here and for allowing yourself to hear this message. If something within you resonated, hold on to that feeling. That's where the change begins. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful insights that can transform your inner world and your outer reality. And remember, your life changes the moment you decide to change who you are. I'll see you in the next one.